Alderman Wilson.
Here.
Alderman Holmes.
Here.
Alderman Tyndall.
Here.
Alderman Grover.
Here.
Alderman Rainey.
Here.
Alderman Burris.
Here.
Alderman Fisk.
Here.
Alderman John Baptiste.
Here.
Alderman Nguyen.
Here.
9.
We have a quorum. Welcome to the Monday, December 14th, 2009 meeting of the Evanston City Council. The first order of business is to present a Distinguished Service Award to Senator Schoenberg, who is here somewhere. Come on up. Now, I had a speech prepared as to the reason that we created this award for Jeff and are giving it to him. And the greatest example of the reason that you're getting this award, Jeff, is that you absolutely never give up. When it was time for the meeting to start and I went to get you into this meeting, you were talking about the CTA and our problems with the viaduct with an alderman. And that tenacity is the reason that we've created this award and are so incredibly grateful to you. Now I'm going to go through the speech anyway, even though that was my best example. But Jeff deserves this award for a lot of reasons. You're brilliant, determined, hardworking, and most amazing of all, you can handle Springfield, which is a feat. He's risen to leadership in the Illinois State Senate, and we are incredibly proud of you. We really are. Your hometown is very proud. And tonight, I'd like to highlight 2 reasons for giving you this award: tenacity and the ability to prioritize. As our state senator, and not ours alone, although we like to think you're just ours, and treat you that way, I'm afraid, but we are very well aware that you have to deal with a myriad of issues, but you never lose sight of what's truly important. And for us, the CTA and the viaducts are a truly important issue. And urban legend has it that once long, long ago, you slew dragons and climbed mountains and scaled high peaks, and you actually got in your hands the money to repair the viaducts, and then the forces of evil snatched it away from you. But we are very glad you had a meeting. You just don't ever give up. You had a meeting with Alderman Nguyen and the city manager and myself, and you came, and the head of the Illinois Department of Transportation was there, and that meeting led to the CTA putting us on a list for a study to see if perhaps we needed a little help with our viaducts, and I think they may find out we do. And then we had a community meeting, and you have never given up on this issue. And Evanston is a great city because we're next to the lake, we have a wonderful, diverse population, and we have proximity to Chicago. But proximity to Chicago is going to be redefined if the CTA isn't working, because then it's not going to be so easy to get there any longer. So we are very, very proud of you and for all the help that you've given us. I believe we are eventually going to get the viaducts fixed and the Purple Line fixed. And when we do, it is going to be because you just don't give up. So, Senator Schoenberg, the first ever City of Evanston Extraordinary Service Award, the mayor and members of the 78th City Council present this award to Senator Jeff Schoenberg in honor of his outstanding service. And there are many other examples of your outstanding service, but we want to have this meeting in before midnight. To the city and residents of Evanston, Illinois, December 14th, 2009.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor Tisdall, members of the City Council, and friends and neighbors. I have to say that all things being equal, Evanston is more equal in the realm of communities that I represent. It's the place where my wife and I live with our 2 children who attend District 65 schools. Our daughter will attend Evanston Township High School next year. It's where we call home. It's where we think that the community's values are even more valuable than 100 CTA viaducts. And I'm so thrilled and honored to have this recognition. Evanston has a rich quality of life. The municipality, the schools, the recreation department, the not-for-profits who serve the various needs in our community. We are a community facing enormous challenges, but we're not alone. And I am as determined as ever to ensure that as my neighbors and my friends on the City Council experience difficult times, making sure that we can maintain the quality of life that we're seeking to uphold here in this community. You know that I stand shoulder to shoulder with you to put our best case forward for Evanston because this community is certainly a jewel in the state of Illinois. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next, would Pat Fitzgerald please come up? Now, I'm in a little trouble, Coach, and I'm counting on you to get me out of it, because I never bet with another mayor before over the outcome of a football game. And the deal, I thought, was supposed to be that I was calling the mayor of Auburn, Mayor Ham, that's correct, Wally? Right, who's a very nice guy. And I was supposed to bet that I would wear their jersey at a council meeting if, and it won't happen, but if Northwestern lost, and he would wear a Northwestern jersey at their council meeting when you win. But somehow he had interpreted the bet that the whole council would wear it. And I hadn't checked with any of these guys because I didn't know that was the bet. But I'm pretty competitive, and you're going to win. So I said, sure, we'll all wear the jersey. Guys, I hope this is okay with you. But it's not going to happen. So it's not a problem because you're going to take care of that for me, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Then I'm out of trouble. So we are very, very excited. You have a fabulous team, great record, and you're in a bowl game, the Outback Bowl. So you leave on the 26th.
Yeah, we do.
And I have been accused of thinking that this would be sufficient for the entire team. That is not true, guys. I knew this is simply a sampling of what will come on the 26th, and the cookies will be delivered to the plane, right?
We'll make sure they're there.
We'll make sure they're there. And the Evanston City Council, not that you need luck, but wishes you good luck, great success. And congratulations. We are very proud of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor, and to the City Council. We greatly appreciate all of your support, and it's an honor and privilege for myself and our Director of Athletics, Dr. Jim Phillips, to be here today to represent Northwestern Athletics, Northwestern Football, and Northwestern University. Very proud of our young men. It was not an easy season for us. We dealt with a lot of adversity, and to finish the way that we did 3-0, and especially with a great win at home against Wisconsin for our senior day, and to have the entire Evanston community enjoy that victory was nothing but a day that I'll cherish and will always remember. But I hope that our young men are doing their part too, and that's in the Evanston community by giving back to those that we hope to make an impact on. And we have a few practices this week, and so I hope some of the kids can come out and watch us. We had a bunch on Sunday come out and watch us practice, and hopefully we can just continue to give back. We'll do our part to make sure that the purple and white is worn in Auburn, Alabama, for the second meeting in January, their January meeting. But on behalf of our athletic department and our football team, I'd also like to present you, Mayor, and the council with some T-shirts and some hats to wear on January 1st as you wake up to cheer on the Cats. So thank you so much. We appreciate it, and go Cats. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Manager, do you have public announcements?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, good evening. First, I'd like to ask our Director of Health and Human Services, Ivana Thomas, to come up and give you an H1N1 vaccine update.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Tisdall, council members, City Manager. Each week, the Health and Human Services Department analyzes information about influenza-like illness and activity in Evanston. During the week of November 29th through December 5th, influenza activity decreased over the previous week across all key indicators. So a summary of our key indicators and the surveillance that we track are visits to the doctor, and for influenza-like illness, it decreased again for this past week. So this is the fourth consecutive week of decrease as it relates to influenza-like illness. While influenza-like illness has declined for Evanston, visits to the doctors for influenza-like illness remain elevated nationally. Almost all of the influenza virus identified so far continues to be responsive to the 2009 H1N1 influenza A virus vaccine. So that means we got it right. We created the correct vaccine for the viruses that we're seeing as it relates to H1N1. Also, the virus still remains susceptible or treatable to the drug of choice, which is Tamiflu. Influenza hospitalization rates have decreased across all age groups, but remain higher than expected for this time of year. Though declining, hospitalization rates continue to be highest in children birth to 4 years of age. So the Evanston Health and Human Services Department will host its third H1N1 public vaccination clinic Saturday, December 19th from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m., which will be by appointment only at Evanston Township High School, Bacon Cafeteria, entrance at the rear of the 1600 Dodge Avenue building. But also, please note that beginning Tuesday, tomorrow, December 15th, providers can begin to make the H1N1 vaccine available to the general public, as well as continuing to offer it to individuals from priority groups, again, based on your vaccine availability. The Illinois Department of Public Health has evaluated numerous factors before making the decision to lift the restrictions on H1N1 vaccine eligibility, including feedback from local health departments and providers, discussions with the Chicago Department of Public Health, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in other states, and prior vaccination distribution patterns. So since September 27, 2009, more than 2.4 million dosages of H1N1 vaccine were allotted and shipped to Illinois and facilities across our state for vaccination of the designated priority populations. So with additional H1N1 vaccine arriving each week and the demand for the vaccine waning in some parts of our state, it is time to begin to offer the vaccine to anyone who has not been vaccinated and desires the vaccine. But in situations where demands exceed the supply at your individual facility, it is appropriate for any provider to make a decision to prioritize those at higher risk. Every effort should be made to avoid leaving vaccine on the shelf unused. Again, the Evanston Health and Human Services Department will be holding its third H1N1 public vaccination clinic this Saturday, December 19th from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. by appointment only. For appointments, please call 847-859-7829. Again, for appointments, please call 847-859-7829. The clinic will be hosted by Evanston Township High School, Bacon Cafeteria, entrance at the rear of the building at 1600 Dodge Avenue. Thank you all for your assistance in this unprecedented effort to protect the citizens of this community. That ends my report.
With this being our last city council meeting in the month of December, some updates on trash removal schedule and tree recycling. We'll ask our interim director of Public Works, Suzette Eggleston, to come up and make those announcements.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council, City Manager. I want to go over the holiday collection schedule. The city offices will be closed on Thursday, on Christmas Eve, December 24th, and on Christmas, December 25th. Thursday's collection will be collected on Saturday, December 26th. The recycling center will also be closed on Friday, December 25th, and I'm going to go over the New Year's Day schedule as well. Friday, January 10th, the city offices will be closed, and condo collection for that Saturday will be collected on Thursday. I'm sorry, for that Friday will be collected on Thursday, December 31st. As you know, November, pardon me?
Friday, January 1st, right? You said
No.
January 10th.
I sure did. It's the 2010 part. I'm sorry. January 1st, 2010. The collection will occur on December 31st, Friday, for condominiums. Snow removal parking restrictions went into effect on December 1st, and I have the snow brochures to share with you. And these are the brochures that we will also post on windshields in areas of non-compliance if we get into a snow emergency situation, if we have to tow areas, so that remind people what the parking restrictions are. Thank you very much. That's it.
And Ms. Eggleston, before you leave, how are people notified when we're in a snow emergency?
A variety of ways. The best way to find out if a snow emergency or snow route parking ban is in effect is to listen for the sirens at the appropriate time. We also have, you can call the snow line and listen for the recorded message, and it will advise you. The city's website, on the front page, there is a notification to advise you if a snow emergency is in effect and what those parking restrictions are. We also send out an e-news blast, so if you belong to the city's e-news, and we also will be updating the information on Twitter, the cable, radio, as well as Facebook. Thank you.
Next on Christmas tree recycling, Bob Dorniker from our Parks Recreation Department. He'll also cover another community event that's coming up, and that's the Kwanzaa holiday lighting.
Thank you and good evening. This coming holiday season, the Parks Forestry Division will again pick up Christmas trees for recycling. Crews will begin collecting trees only from parkway areas, which are the grassy areas between the sidewalks and the curbs, during the weeks of December 28th and continuing for 5 consecutive weeks. All trees should be placed on the parkways. Trees will not be picked up from alleys or private property. Trees will be picked up on the same day as normal refuge and recycling collections during the weeks of December 28th, January 4th, January 11th, 18th, and 25th. This 5-week schedule should allow for quicker removal of trees from the parkways, as well as allow residents the flexibility to remove their trees from their homes as late as January 24th. Please remember to remove all lights, decorations, and do not place the trees in plastic bags, as this material can damage equipment used to convert the trees into mulch. My second announcement is that you're invited to celebrate the first day of Kwanzaa at Fountain Square, right in the heart of downtown Evanston. The event takes place at 5:30 on Saturday, 26th. There will be music, song, and the traditional lighting of the Canara and reciting of the principles. The program will be presented by the Fleetwood Jourdain Middle School Council. Fountain Square is located on Davis Street between Orrington and Sherman Avenues. Then on December 28th, Fleetwood Jourdain Community Center also invites you to learn about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Their extended community celebration, the evening begins at 6 p.m. on Monday, December 28th. Included in that will be the spoken word, the history of Kwanzaa. Fleetwood Jourdain is located at 1655 Foster Street in Evanston. Admission is free. Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, members of the council, one last announcement. I'd like to ask Police Chief Rich Eddington to come up.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Mrs. Mayor, members of the council. I'm pleased to report a successful blood drive today. It was a blood drive for Detective Joe Bush, who was seriously injured in a motorcycle accident almost 5 weeks ago now. We received 210 units of blood. The people at LifeSource tell me that for every unit of blood we receive, it helps 3 additional people. I want to thank the elected officials who supported this, members of the community, members of the Evanston Fire Department, Police Department, Skokie Fire and Police, all pitched in and supported this effort. I want to especially highlight the efforts of Detective Tracy Williams, who organized this with LifeSource. In closing, I want to express the thanks of the Bush family for the community support and the thanks of all those who will be helped in the future by literally giving of oneself. Thank you.
Yes, Chief Eddington, I just wondered how many donations did you get today at the clinic?
210 units were.
210.
Yes, and there were multiple other volunteers that the screening process is extremely rigorous now, and so we probably turned away 50 to 75 people for everything from taking aspirin in the last 2 days to having a cold. So it was quite an impressive turnout.
And Chief Eddington, what was your goal? What was your target for donations?
For the LifeSource people to be busy all day, and they were.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Clerk, do you have any communications?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do. First of all, I want to make some corrections to the minutes of November 16th. On page 2, under the lakefront development, after the statement, city manager to go forward, it should say, and if any new options came up, the council should be notified. There was no action taken by the council. On page 3 of the same set of minutes, number 3 should say, develop a request for information and qualifications, parentheses R, F, and Q. And then after it says it was stated by the city manager to go with option number 3, the city manager also stated that he knew what the direction to take with no action taken by the council. Those are 2 changes on the minutes for the 16th of November. Madam Mayor, city manager, aldermen, staff, citizens in the audience, and who are watching at home, being an elected city official is my obligation and commitment to the 7,000 Evanston residents who voted me into this office. As a city clerk, it is my responsibility to record what is spoken during the council session, whether they are public or closed. According to Illinois Statute 5, I-11CS 120-2.06, under the minutes, the clerk's minutes shall include, but not be limited to the following: the date, time, and place of the meeting, the members of the public body present or absent, whether they are physically present or by means of video or audio conference. 3, a summary of discussion of all matters proposed, deliberated, or decided, and a record of any votes taken. A verbatim written record is not necessary, but a CD recording of all public meetings are available in the clerk's office after they have been approved at the next city council. Public sessions can also be viewed on YouTube from the city's website. At the last council session on 11/23/09, an alderman suggested we refer to the tape of October 26th council meeting and to make it part of the minutes. That had been done. I will now play that recording of that meeting, and then you can decide what was said and what was not said.
11/23, he said November.
And Rainey, Administration and Public Works.
Madam Mayor, the minutes. Madam Mayor, October 26 minutes were removed from the, because at least two people have amendments. One of those is me, and that is under A6, Ordinance 85009, amends Title 3, Chapter 13 of the City of
Point of order,
Evanston
Madam
Code,
Mayor.
peddlers
Yes,
and
Officers.
I move that we dispense with the
the
playing
minutes
of
should
the
be
record
amended
of the
to
previous
read
meeting.
that the item was
City Clerk, how long is this going to take?
This is only going to take another 2 minutes, and I'll play the tape of the 23rd.
Well,
This was done publicly, and I think this will be publicly shown that what was said was corrected and that those minutes were approved. That what was written in those minutes were the correct writing. It has been recorded and changed to be a verbatim of what was said in that meeting on the 23rd, on the 26th.
well, in the interest of time, are we willing to agree that the minutes are correct and move on?
I'll second.
We'll get to that when we get to the agenda. I mean,
All right, if City Clerk, I would suggest that we resolve this when we get to that on the agenda if there's a problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
What, I'm still trying to figure out, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Jean-Baptiste.
I'm a little caught by surprise, so I'm trying to follow what we're trying to do. These are the corrections you're offering, and you want to make sure that we understand that the minutes that we have yet to approve are properly reflective of what was said, right? Is that what you're doing?
Can I speak?
Go ahead.
No, what I'm trying to show here is that, in so many words, I was basically I was doing an untruth in the minutes. And I just want to show that the minutes that were talked about on the 26th had no mentioning of the A85092 as being tabled. And you will see that and hear that on the tape.
Okay. Are you talking about from the previous?
Yes.
Okay. Because if it were introduced like that, then, maybe we could find a way to understand it better, because I didn't understand what you were doing. So you were trying to prove that your statement of the minutes were correct and that the offered corrections were incorrect. Is that what you were doing?
No. What I'm saying is that what was in the minutes, when was corrected, was then expressed that I go back and look at the tape again by Alderman Grover to let the minutes of the 26th be recorded, and then let that be a part of the minutes that we will see on this section, in this session.
Okay, so you responded to a request that
Yes.
we go back
That
to
we
the
go
tape.
back and listen to the minutes of the 26th.
Okay. All right, and so that's what you're doing right now?
Yes.
So, Alderman Grover, you had called for a general listing, or, well,
I think my suggestion at the time was that the recording would speak for itself as to what had transpired in the meeting.
Thank you.
okay. And so, Mr. Clerk, you're trying to establish that the recording, in fact, reflected
Exactly
what
what
you
I
had
had
written
written.
down.
But I redid a verbatim according to what the recording was at that session on the 26th.
Okay. All right. So, having done that, then, I mean, because I'm not sure whether generally people doubted you. Some people had some different understanding. So, at this point in time, Madam Mayor, I think that if you feel that you need to play that for us to then understand what was done, and if it's a couple of minutes, then I don't see a problem with that. If that's what the objective is, because I didn't understand the objective at the beginning.
That is the objective.
Would it be all right to play it at the time that we pass the minutes? If we do, if there's a problem in passing the minutes and anyone wants to hear it, then we could hear it. Otherwise, we could all acknowledge that the minutes that the city clerk prepared are fine.
Well, now that I understand what the objective is, I think that the proponent, for lack of a better word, should, respond to that and try to understand, if he wants to advance a particular correction, a particular issue, a particular point, let's figure out how best he may be able to do so.
City Clerk, would it be all right with you to play it if needed at the time that we vote on the minutes?
Madam Mayor, no. I think it needs to be played because it was stated publicly. It was heard and seen on YouTube. It was heard and seen on Channel 16. And I think it is an appropriate place to show that those minutes that I recorded and the tape will show that my statement was true and to the fact.
Okay. Alderman Rainey?
I don't think I have anything to say. The minutes are dealt with on the consent agenda. M1, M2, and M3 are minutes. That's where it should be dealt with.
In the past, I have responded to corrections to the minutes before the agenda has been read. If you remember correctly, I've done that twice.
I think we've been doing it wrong.
No, we have not. According to parliamentary procedure and also to the council's procedures, and I can check with the new lawyer on bench, that it can be done during the clerk's comments or before the agenda.
Well,
because
I
it's
think,
done-
excuse me, okay. Why don't you just do it, and we'll spend less time playing them than we will arguing about playing them.
Economize on at a later date.
I like the reason. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Next, Madam Mayor, is A6, Ordinance 85009, which amends Title III, Chapter 13 of the Evanston City Code, having to do with peddlers and solicitors. The city manager has requested that he and Northwestern and Evanston Police Department review this issue and report back to us after the basketball season ends on a plan to control the pedestrian issues.
It's been moved and seconded. And seeing no lights, all in favor, say aye.
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 If you notice, there was no mention of the agenda or the ordinance being tabled. It was mentioned that the city manager had requested that he, Northwestern, and the city police of Evanston will get back to the council after the basketball season was completed to give an update on the pedestrian issues. I rest my case.
Thank you. Does that end your communications?
Yes, it does, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Mayor?
Yes. Alderman John Baptiste.
So let me just try to understand. The issue that is being corrected here is that at one of our meetings when we looked at the minutes, and I don't think you were there at that time, we felt that there was something needed to be amended. And at that time, it was said that the issue was tabled. No. Is that the main conflict? Main issue?
When the A6009 was presented, the word table was never mentioned. I write what is recorded or spoken in the meetings. I cannot read your mind. I write what is spoken. So that was spoken. It was never mentioned the table. It was never mentioned tabled at the time that the vote was taken. It was never mentioned at the time of the reading of that ordinance. So my recording was that, as it heard on the recording, that the city manager requested to have Northwestern, him, and the police department to get back to the council at the end of the basketball session to discuss the pedestrian issues. That is the situation.
Alderman Grover.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'm looking at our packet, which is the revised minutes from October 26th. It's the bottom of page 13 of our packet, the top of page 14, that is consecutively numbered. And I've read along with the replaying of the tape, and Mr. Green has accurately transcribed what transpired in the meeting, and it's reflected in those minutes.
Thank you. Next, City Manager is a special order of business, and could someone please bring me the citizen comment sign-up sheet?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council over the last several weeks has been going through your council goals. You have talked about 11 of the 12 goals. The final goal is regarding the police and fire pension funding. When the council originally discussed its goals for the year, there was not a specific focus regarding the pension funding other than it was an important issue facing the city of Evanston. I'd like to provide an opportunity for the council to have any additional discussion on the issue. Also, Marty Lyons, our assistant city manager, is here, and he can certainly answer any questions regarding the issue of the police and fire pension funding.
Does anyone have a question? Alderman Rainey.
Well, what information do we have currently to work from? I mean, we're in debt over what, 100 and how many million? What's the latest?
Mr. Lyons.
I mean, the only thing I can think to discuss is, oh, woe is me, how are we ever going to pay this? I mean, where's the substance of the conversation here?
Well, after you speak.
Just to answer the question, Mayor, members of council, the most recent amount was $158 million for the combined police and fire. That was the unfunded liability for the two funds combined as of March 1st, 2009.
Alderman Jean-Baptiste?
Yeah. I had asked our assistant city manager to give us a sense as to what the trend is that we expect in the next 10 years. Because as our budget shrinks and, our obligation to pay the pension liability remain constant from the legal standpoint, the yearly amount increases. It increases because the investments continue to lose money, and the probably interest accumulated over time in terms of the obligation increases. So relative to our budget, if you project 10, 15 years, you have a collision that is on the way to take place. And I think that we need to try to find a way to address this particular issue, whether it is legislatively, to find some relief from the state, or as in the public meetings, public budget meetings. I don't know whether some of you checked out some of the suggestions, that eventually there may have to be some civilians providing some of the services that we now have sworn officers providing. And I'm not advocating that. I'm saying that this is an objective fact. And so as we look and prepare for the future down the line, we have to make sure that we take into account what is going on. So I had wanted to find out from you, what do we project in the next 10, 15 years as the percentage of the budget that would have to be allocated towards the pension obligation?
And as a part of the actuarial report, we did receive a 30-year projection. So the initial form of the report can be a overlay of that projection with a 5 or a 10-year projection of our total budget costs for the same time frame, so that we can get a feel for the total amount of our budget costs compared to the projected pension costs per the actuary. And it will show an increasing portion, because our budget costs, I don't believe, are projected to grow at the same rate as our pension costs, as outlined in the actuarial study.
It will not grow at the same pace. So what does that, which one will grow?
The pension costs will grow faster. Now, that's assuming all things remain equal. If we make changes in our budget as you outlined, then those costs may not increase at the same rate.
All right. So, City Manager, I mean, the burden is on you to help provide some leadership in that area in terms of the thinking, because as we move forward, I mean, I know that we have a legal obligation. So, firefighters who are here, I'm not advocating that we default on our obligations, but I am saying that we have to face some truth. And that truth is that our ability to pay will get more and more difficult. So we've got to collectively, and that includes the firefighters, need to help us, and the police officers, police union. They have to help us figure out how to manage this. Okay.
Alderman Wilson.
And I agree with Alderman Jean-Baptiste. We really need to be looking towards the future here. You know, whether it's popular or not, what we need to be doing is questioning whether the current pension system is sustainable. And, you know, a lot of people talk about this, but I don't really see anybody taking action on it. So I would like the city staff and the council to work together at looking at alternatives to the current system. And, you know, whether that's working more closely with the legislators, lobbying efforts, whatever it takes. But we're going to have to make some changes, because it's not just Evanston, it's communities across the state and across the country that aren't going to be able to meet the obligations, and that's not going to do anybody any good. If we end up 25 years from now defaulting on the obligations, the people who have counted on that aren't going to have what they bargained for and what they expected, and that's not fair to them, and it's not fair to us. So I'm not looking to take away anything that somebody's already entitled to. What I'm looking at is trying to find a way to redefine how we provide the pensions, and take a fresh look at that. You know, perhaps getting away from the defined benefit plans and something more towards defined contribution plans. And you know, those are the solutions I'd like to be having the state and our local governments looking at.
Well, seeing no other lights, it may help to say that today I was at a meeting of mayors, and the governor came for a while, and a lot of the discussion was on police and fire pensions, and the discussion was that they're unsustainable. We simply cannot afford to pay these pensions in the future. So we discussed either pension reform or radically reconfiguring the way particularly fire service, but also police service is provided in a community. Because there was a clear sense among all the mayors that you just can't pay these bills anymore because there isn't enough money. So it seems to me that the two options are, one, to move to pension reform, particularly a two-tiered system with different pensions for new hires, or to look at reconfiguring ways to provide service. One discussion was regional way, no longer looking at towns and just saying this is the border, but when you draw those circles of fire service from a fire station, if it includes Wilmette or a part of Skokie or whatever, then looking at fire service differently and not stopping at a town's borders is one way to save some money. Alderman Rainey.
Well, that would be saving money going forward, but it doesn't help us with our current problem. And what I was wondering is the legislation controlling the way pensions that are currently in existence work. It's controlled by the state. Is that not true?
Yes, it is true.
What I'm wondering is what I would like to hear from the police and fire pension boards, the political discussions that go on in those meetings, not, the city, it's the city's fault, they didn't pay this, they didn't do this, they should have known better, they should have had a different actuary. I'd really like to hear how those discussions going on, when they look at the financial situation of a community such as Evanston, what do they propose? You know
Pension
what I'm saying?
boards, yeah, but I don't have any idea.
Many of them live in our community. They own homes. They know that we can't add an additional $10 million a tax year to our property tax in order to begin to resolve this problem. So what I'm wondering is, what are some of their proposals? That's what I'd like to hear. I mean, not right this minute, obviously, we're not prepared for that, but I think that would be important for us to know. Because when I've had conversations talking about changing legislation in Springfield, is not well accepted by pensioners. I mean, that's not what they're looking for. So I'd like to hear more from them. You think we could have like a workshop or something?
City manager?
Budget sessions.
I would think we could try to put that together.
Madam Mayor, Alderman Rainey, certainly we could put together a workshop with the pension boards. I think also the information that Alderman John Baptiste's request might be appropriate for our budget discussions coming up over the next several weeks. So if the council would like, we can incorporate some of that modeling mentioned by Alderman John Baptiste in our budget workshops, and if you'd like, we can start looking at dates for a workshop. As you know, your January and going into February is already pretty booked up, so perhaps depending on the council's wishes, either we can try to put another special meeting in the January-February timeframe, or we could look for after the budget to have those discussions. I would certainly look for direction on that.
Thank you. There being no further lights, I believe that concludes the special order of business. Next is citizen comment. Nobody signed up under agenda items, so under non-agenda items, I'm going to call 3 names, and the first one will come and speak, and the other 2 just wait, and as soon as one person is done, the next person goes. Tyrone Gibbs, Jeannie Wyden, and Claire Kelly Delgado. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Tyrone Gibbs. How you doing, Council? I'd like to address the LEP program, the Labor Employment Program. Everybody should be familiar with that. I started out in that I'm a local 118 union construction worker. I started out in 2001 with DePaulo Construction. We actually went through a training process, safety training process, which actually was required of all the employees starting out, which they chose DePaulo, we had to go fill out an application. But I think that's when the LEP program started. I'm not sure, but they did?
It's recent.
Oh, it's recent. Anyway, I was working with Boulder contractors this past summer. I was laid off on the 26th of October. That's with Rod Rankins. He's the owner. It's an excellent program. I think there was a meeting in March. Maybe 100 residents showed up, but I think it was only like 4 that actually got hired. I'm not sure, but we need to expand that program. I don't know. I know, to my understanding, I think it's 500,000 where companies come in. Anything over that, then they're not eligible to hire. I mean, they're not obligated to hire Evanston residents. But anyway, I think it should be lowered because that would bring a lot more jobs. And also, if we could, like the youth out here, if we could start a training program or like a safety program, which through the labor and training facilities that they have, that will also give the youth a better opportunity to get employment through the contractors. But I feel that some pressure should be put on the contractors to hire more Evanston residents. I mean, because it was millions, multi-millions made. I mean, I was hearing about them getting projects, so on and so forth, not falling under that LEP umbrella, because it's, I don't know the exact numbers. Maybe one of you aldermen or mayor may know. How you doing, Mayor, by the way? Sorry about
Good to see you again.
Oh, by the way, the city clerk, excellent job, by the way. Thank you. You do an excellent job. But I would like to, if you could keep this going and try to, I'm going to be here like every time y'all have a meeting. I'm just now getting started, but I'm going to stay on this LEP program because we need it, and I hope I could get some backing here or, from the aldermans here. Ms. Holmes, how you doing?
I thank you.
Mr. Baptiste, that's not the only ones I'm familiar with, but I remember you, Ms. Finn, as well. But anyway, but I'd appreciate it though. But I'm gonna go do some studying and find out more about the LEP program. But keep it in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and affordable housing. I'm gonna bring that one up next.
Remember the 3-minute rule. We talked about that one. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
If I
I'm
could
sorry.
just
Alderman
clarify.
Jean-Baptiste.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Mr. Gibbs, we have an MWEBE committee that's Minority, Women, and Evanston-based Businesses Advisory Committee. A lot of the discussion can take place at that level. I see that Mr. McCray just gave you a card. If you would leave him your number, we'll let you know when our next meeting is, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is Jean Wyden here? Oh, okay. Clara, you're on then.
Good evening. My name is Claire Kelly Delgado, and I live at 823 Colfax Street. And I'm here just to let you know how absolutely delighted and excited we all are, especially the kids in our neighborhood, about having an ice rink, about having the currently empty Kendall lot turned into an ice rink this winter. We're really so excited about all this, and I want to also express our appreciation to Judy Fisk for her creative efforts to make this happen, and to each one of you for seeing the value of turning this this currently empty lot into such a delightful venue for winter fun. I've lived in this neighborhood for about 40 years, and when I was growing up here and when I moved back, we used to have a toboggan run in the neighborhood, and it was just such a sort of magical place in the winter, during the long winter months when all the neighborhood sort of retreats indoors and you don't see anybody again until they surface in May. It was always sort of magical to be out having fun with your neighborhood during those winter months. So I think we're all very excited about having this venue available to us. So thank you for bringing some of that winter magic back to our community this winter. Thank you. And Jeannie Sterlo was also going to speak on this to the same sentiment, but she had to take off. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Next, Nick Agnew, Mike Vasilko, and Chris Skay.
Hello, I'm Nick Agnew. I live at 819 Colfax in Evanston. I'm kind of just offering the same sentiments as my neighbor Claire. On behalf of myself, my wife Donna, and our children Emily, 10, Luke, 8, and Sarah, 4, as well as the more than 40 children, 40 of my children's friends, classmates, and neighbors, and their families who live between Ridge and Orrington on Colfax, just those 2 blocks. Not to mention the countless other children and families throughout Evanston who would really enjoy having this rink on the Kendall lot. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for your consideration for making this happen, and my alderperson, Judy Fisk, and Smithfield, which I never thought as a neighbor I would ever thank, but I'm thanking them, and I'm quite pleased, again, for consideration on allowing the Kendall lot to be used as an ice rink this winter. So thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
My name's Mike Vasolko. I live at 2728 Reese. I'm speaking tonight to request that the City Council direct the staff of the city to refrain from considering any new Northwestern University development and direct staff to suspend any current Northwestern building permits until Northwestern agrees to pay a fair share of the financial contributions to Evanston's general fund and to the police and firemen's pension fund. To the best of my knowledge, Northwestern has never made a financial contribution targeted towards the pension fund, and they should. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Manager. My name is Christopher Ski. It's my very good fortune to live with my wife and 2 children at 2200 Harrison Street here in Evanston. On most Monday evenings like tonight, after I get home from work, I've had the pleasure of walking my daughters over to the North Branch Public Library. We pick out some books, we talk with the librarians, we see our friends and neighbors doing the same. My older daughter in Kingsley, in kindergarten, has started in on the Kingsley Battle of the Books list, and the North Branch librarians, of course, have been very helpful in that regard. Visiting the library on Monday nights has become a routine, nothing flashy or elaborate, just one of the pleasures of living near Central Street. Unfortunately, that routine came to an abrupt halt a couple of weeks ago when the city cut back evening hours at our North Branch. Because I work full-time, the result is that my girls and I are no longer able to visit the library during the week. Thus, tonight, rather than accompany my girls to the library, I chose to come speak to you. I wish I were speaking tonight merely about the cut in operating hours. However, given the recommendations to come out of the early stage of the budget review process, as I understand it, I'm here to address something much more distressing, the possibility that the City of Evanston would consider closing the branch libraries completely. I understand that closure of the branch libraries is among the concepts that received some, quote, consensus support in the budget workshops. I'm here to strongly caution the Council from accepting that idea of consensus without further reflection and investigation. I would suggest that this community shares a broad consensus view that the North Branch is a key characteristic of our neighborhood, a critical ingredient in the recipe for successful Central Street Business District, and a fundamental city service that must be maintained. Former First Lady Lady Bird Johnson famously said, and I quote, "Perhaps no place in any community is so totally democratic as the town library. The only entrance requirement is interest," close quote. Anybody who wants to see that democracy in action should stop by the North Branch. Take a seat and watch the patrons come and go for 15 or 20 minutes. You will see that the branch library caters to all of our community's residents, young and old and everyone in between, men and women, straights and gays, families, single parents, teenagers, people of different races, religions, and ethnic backgrounds, the highly educated and those with learning disabilities, rich and poor as well as the middle class. And on that point, I note the research that demonstrates the so-called librarian's axiom that in tough economic times, library use palpably increases. Libraries are an important resource for all, but particularly for those hardest hit by the recession. The North Branch is exactly that type of resource. In conclusion, I'll note that the city's website states that the annual budget for the North Branch is $179,600. That is money very well spent. Indeed, for all the tangible and intangible benefits that our community receives from the North Branch, that price tag is a bargain. I encourage the city to act creatively but prudently in addressing the budget gap. Please explore all the options. Please do not close the North Branch Library. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Anita Ramijas, Andy Spatz, and Elizabeth Kinney.
Good evening, our mayor and aldermen. My name's Anita Ramages. I live at 23.
I did massacred that. Sorry about that one.
It's not. No, my mother, Irish Catholic neighborhood, and somehow I ended up with a Latino name. So, oh well. 2311 Sherman Avenue, and I'm also here on behalf of my neighbor Janelle Grenzebach, who lives at 732 Colfax, and we're here to support the rink at Kendall. It is an empty lot right now. It is used by the neighborhood. We try to keep it clean. We have parking available for the rink on Colfax. On Sherman, I live about 4 doors south of the Kendall area. Janelle lives directly across the street. I met recently with Mr. Bobkowitz along with another neighbor, and one of our issues was what the teenage children have to do. I have a junior at the high school and a daughter who's away at college now, looking for something in Evanston, a bowling rink, a pool. We do have the lake. But when I came home and told my daughter about the possibility of an ice skating rink, she said, cool, we can do broom ball. Broom ball is cheap. You get a broom and a pair of tennis shoes and you're out there. So I won't belabor the point, but we really, it is a neighborhood thing. We have lost the toboggan sled, which was at Ridge and Lincoln. And I just want to let you know that we really do support it in the neighborhood. We'll keep it clean. There's parking, and we're looking forward to it. So thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
I think I put my name on the wrong list. Madam Mayor, Alderman, City Manager, my name is Andrew Spatz. I'm a 25-year Evanston resident and a partner in Ada Spatz Properties and Barry Spatz Architects. Since our last meeting, I've been part of the Green Building Ordinance Committee. We have produced a very workable, easy-to-monitor amendment to the existing Green Building Ordinance. It addresses adaptive reuse and interior renovation projects of all sizes. If adopted, each future project has the choice of going through the LEED Silver certification process or picking from a list of requirements. The net result will be the same. Both approaches will provide our city with greener, more energy-efficient building stock. As time passes, I am sure we will need to tweak this document because of its effect on actual built projects. There will be some holes. It might make sense to retain the present Green Building Ordinance Committee for these tasks. I also suggest, as a choice, integrating the requirements on this list into small-scale new construction projects of 25,000 square feet and under. Our same goal of green, energy-efficient buildings would be accomplished if in a simpler fashion. As an FYI, I personally analyzed all of our recently completed adaptive reuse projects. The Stamp Factory, cinema condominiums, and shop studios all exceed the requirements of the amendment before you. This addition to our present ordinance will encourage future development, accomplishes energy conservation, saves money for the user, and reduces our carbon footprint. All this is necessary for growth in Evanston and we need to keep it a great place to live, work, and play, as well as contributing funds to our meeting future debt obligations. Hopefully you all concur and adopt this amendment tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Kinney. I live at 1024 Brummel Street, and I'm a 20-year Evanston resident. I serve on the Environment Board, and I also served on the Green Building Ordinance Committee. I'm here to recommend that you adopt the compromise amendments to the Green Building Ordinance for interior renovations, which was being introduced tonight. And further, we would recommend that the requirements of the ordinance are reasonable. And actually, I concur in Mr. Spatz's recommendations that we consider adopting the requirements for the interior renovations for the new construction as well. Thank you.
That
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first item on the consent agenda are the October 26 corrected minutes, which I certainly appreciate the corrections. Approval of the minutes of the special council meeting, November 16, 2009, and approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting, November 23rd.
Madam Chair, I had one typo correction on the November 23rd minutes.
All right. Can you hold that?
Okay.
I mean, we'll take it off and you'll fix it out.
Oh, yeah.
City of Evanston Payroll, Administration and Public Works recommends your approval November 22nd, 2009 in the amount of $2,454,625.20. The City of Evanston Payroll through December 6th in the amount of $2,266,482.18. We also request your approval of the City of Evanston bills through December 15 in the amount of $2,771,015.57. The committee requests your approval for sole source purchase of 24 hack turbidimeters. I got it right before. For the water utility, this is to Hack Company in the amount of $66,588.14. An award of agreement for concrete inspection at the Evanston Water Utility for those facilities constructed in 1913. There appears to be some problem with that concrete, and the award goes to CTL Group from Skokie in the amount not to exceed $60,000. We ask your approval to award for installation, removal, and repair of law enforcement and emergency fire response vehicles, lights, emergency equipment, etc., to Harvey Communications in the amount of $60,473. We request your approval to approve an operating agreement between the City of Evanston and Smithfield Properties for an outdoor natural ice rink on property previously known as the Kendall property. Your approval is requested also for Downtown to TIF District Closeout. This will be on December 31st, and the committee recommends that you agree that payment be made with the balance of debt service for the Sherman Avenue garage and for potential use in repayment of tax appeals refunds awarded in the Downtown 2 closure. It has been revealed that there are $785,000 worth of tax appeals pending for this district. We ask your approval for Resolution 63R09, which amends the title and scope of the Parking Committee to be the Transportation and Parking Committee. That's for action. We ask your approval for Resolution 89R09, which will authorize the city manager to enter into an amended lease agreement with SMBC for the Observation Tower cell site in the Lorraine H. Morton Civic Center. This includes, this is for action, includes also 2 5-year extensions beginning in 2012. Resolution 91R09 will authorize the city manager to execute a lease agreement with the artist Sarah Kaiser for use of Studio B9 at the Noyes Cultural Arts Center for a period of 1 year commencing January 1, 2010, in the amount of $763.44 plus community service. The next 2 items are off the consent agenda and will be explained by the committee chair. For introduction is Ordinance 118.009, which amends Section 3216.2 of the Evanston City Code Tax Imposed Parking Tax. It should be noted that this does not impose any new tax. This is a tax that went into effect and began collections on March 1, 2008. This ordinance will simply codify that tax. It's for introduction. Ordinance 120-009 is for introduction, and it will decrease the number of Class B1 liquor licenses, and this is for Bill's Blues Club. Ordinance 121-009 transfers the jurisdiction of Dempster Street from Sherman Place to Forest Avenue from the Illinois Department of Transportation to the City of Evanston for the purpose of being able to control the intersection at Chicago Avenue and Dempster. For action is Ordinance 110-009, which amends Section 923B of the Evanston City Code, which increases fire department transport fees to that allowed by Medicare. Ordinance A13 is for action, which decreases the number of Class C liquor licenses due to the closing of Jamaica. A14 is for action. It is Ordinance 112-009, which increases the number of Class D liquor licenses, for Mecca Fresh, which will be at 1840 Oak Avenue. Ordinance A15 is for action, and that increases the number of Class C liquor licenses for Bistro Bordeaux at 618 Church Street. Under Planning and Development, item P1 is off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. Item P2 is for action and amends Title 4, Chapter 23 of the Energy Code by adopting the 2009 International Energy Conservation Code by reference. Item P3 is for action, which amends Title 4, Chapter 20 of the City Code having to do with vacant buildings. H1 is Township of Evanston, November 2009 monthly bills in the amount of $91,417.91. Item H2 is Ordinance 124-009, amending the Ordinance 14-009, commonly known as the Green Building Ordinance, and this is for introduction. There are no reports from other committees. The appointments are Ethics Board, Lynn Richmond, Firefighter Pension Board, John Sorensen, Lad Arboretum Committee, Jerry Gardner, and Public Art Committee, Angela Renee. I so move, Madam Mayor.
Second.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
Alderman Tindem.
Aye.
Alderman Grover.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Burris.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman John Batiste.
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
9-0, Madam.
9-0, the consent agenda passes. Alderman Rainey?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there were two discussion items, snow towing, one side of the street parking. That was a reference by Alderman Tindem, and we have suggested that he continue his discussion with our staff. However, the committee wasn't really convinced, but you can always come back. Next item was street parking enforcement for non-passenger vehicle. We really didn't reach any conclusion on that one either, and we're going to continue discussion at some other time on that.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey. Alderman
Minutes.
Very briefly, Mayor, we, yes, I,
After she's
oh, right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
the minutes.
The minutes. Let's just get it over with.
Pardon?
The minutes.
Yes,
Could
go
we
ahead.
just go back?
Yeah.
The minutes of
Of November 23rd.
November 23rd, yes. Would you
Correct.
say your corrections?
Page 10 of the minutes, and that's page 29 in the packet. There's a reference to changing the October 23rd minutes, and that should be changing the October 26th minutes. Just since we're, making sure that's all on it, all the T's are crossed.
I'll second your amendment. I'm sure we can accept that without going around again. Can we just have a voice vote?
Let's get all in favor, say
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Sorry, Alderman Witt.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes, Madam Mayor, on behalf of Planning and Development, the one item that was taken off is P1. This is amending various portions of the zoning ordinance relating to the creation of the resale establishment use. We had a good discussion at the committee and about some definition issues, we had some questions about the square footage issue, and but we would like to, I move to introduce this tonight, and we'll be referring it back to the committee.
Second.
All right, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Mayor, may I make, is it appropriate that I make a reference during the call, during the report of the committee? Call the words, that's what I thought.
Alderman Holmes, do you have any report?
Until January.
You and the agenda have a real difference, Alderman Holmes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I did it at the first meeting.
My apologies. Alderman Jean-Baptiste, do you have any report?
No report, Madam Mayor.
All of the wards begins with Alderman Wilson.
Thank you. I do want to thank the individuals who worked on that revision to the green building ordinance. I appreciate all that time and effort, and I also appreciate what was come up with. It's exactly what I had in mind when I had suggested we take that part out of the ordinance, and I'm very pleased with the results. So thank you to everyone who spent time on that effort.
Thank you. Alderman Holmes?
Just to invite everyone to Thursday evening at 7 p.m. at Fleetwood. Fifth Ward will be having their annual holiday celebration, and you're all welcome to come and celebrate with us.
Thank you. Alderman Pendon?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank the members of the Tanabab Chabad House, Rabbi Dov Hillel Klein, for their wonderful celebration at Fountain Square tonight. If you haven't stopped by Fountain Square, it's all decorated for every holiday, and there were great it was great music, dancing, and terrific jelly donuts. So thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Grover?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I want to say go Cats. I don't intend to welch on the mayor's bet on our behalf, but I really don't intend in wearing an Auburn T-shirt at a council meeting. So go Cats. Second of all, I don't know if any of you caught on WBEZ this week on Jerome McDonald's show called Worldview. There was a segment called the Copenhagen Quiz, which had a lot to do with sustainability efforts, including a local focus. And there was a whole section that focused on local communities and sustainability, and Evanston figured prominently in the questioning on Jerome McDonald's show, and I want you all to find it. And City Manager Bob Kowitz, I understand that will find its way to your blog if you want to listen.
And Alderman Grover, Evanston shone during that program. All of the responses were that we were doing a very good job.
I think we're on the map. I was very proud. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey?
No report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Burris?
No huge report, just happy holidays, happy new year to the mayor and fellow council members and Evanstonians. And I'll go along with Jane, go Cats. I don't want to be seen up here in an Auburn T-shirt. So hopefully we'll do well down in Tampa. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everyone on the council tonight for voting for the supporting the ice rink at Kendall. I think it's going to be a wonderful activity for the neighborhood, and we really appreciate it. 2 meetings that are coming up tomorrow, December 15th. At 7 p.m., the Preservation Commission, where actually the re-subdivision of the Kendall property will be considered. And at 7:30, ZBA considers the great room at Seabury Western, so I want all of you to know about that. As far as the holidays, happy holidays to you all, and it'll be just a wonderful, wonderful time away, but we'll be thinking about you all the time. And look forward to getting back to things in January when we really have to settle down and get control over the budget. But again, my very best wishes also to Northwestern University and success to the football team.
Thank you, Alderman Fisk. Alderman Jean-Baptiste?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to send out congratulations to Deputy Chief Sam Hunter, who has served the city for over 30 years in the fire department in various capacities. He was a high school classmate of mine, and I know that Sam has persevered. I do have a concern, and I've expressed it over the last 9 years that I've been on the council, and that is as we lose Sam Hunter, who is a significant a member of the fire department, he's also been one who has represented the diversity that we stand for. As you guys know, since from 1991 to 2001, we had not hired one African American in the fire department, and it had become more and more difficult to, attract, to even hire anyone because we don't have that many turnovers in the fire department. But at this particular point in time, we're having some of the senior people retire, and so the force is becoming less and less diverse. I know we've made some efforts. We have an academy at the high school where we're trying to encourage young people to take an interest. But city manager, we had taken some initiatives. We had asked human resources to take a look at all of that, the process. Please review that again to make sure that we maintain diversity on the fire department. The other thing I want to report to you guys, we had a neighborhood meeting in the 2nd Ward, and we met with Freed and Associates, and there were a lot of good suggestions made to them, and they agreed to take them into consideration. The Latino community was well represented and was very proactive and articulated the fact that they see nothing there that attracts, Latino business, and that people go to Clark Street to spend their money, and they're ready to, bring their money to the plaza to the extent that the plaza can attract some businesses that accommodate to their tastes. We addressed a number of other issues, but that was the highlight. Also, I want to remind you guys that the Kwanzaa lighting of the canal on December 26th, first day of Kwanzaa Umoja, which means unity, at 5:30 is a good event to bring your kids to, dress them up really warmly, and come and have them be exposed to some information, some culture, some different culture than they may be used to. Also, on the 28th at Fleetwood, there will be a celebration of Kwanzaa, where there'll be more discussions, more information given out. And finally, let me say to all of you, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Nguyen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to make a reference to planning and development. Sometime in October, I believe, we changed our definition of type 2 restaurants. And I have to say it went somewhat under my radar. Type 2 restaurants are restaurants that we generally call fast food restaurants. And there is some concern about our ability to continue to control type 2 restaurants because they tend to be somewhat burdensome on the community because of the trash they generate and some of the other issues. So I want to make a reference to planning and development that we re-examine the definitions that are currently in place for type 1 and type 2 and have a thorough discussion about them to make sure that we all understand them and to see if these are really what we want to do with our definitions. Occasionally these have been somewhat problematic because things don't always fall into them clearly, but they've been very effective for us for the most part in doing what we need them to do. So I think we need to make sure we understand how the new definition operate and what we need to do about it. Second, I'd like to say go Cats, but I have to say that really is not the most important football game that's played in the United States. The most important football game took place last Saturday. It was Army-Navy, and Navy won for the 8th year in a row. So, for all of those of you, it's really a worthwhile experience to go to an Army-Navy game. You should all fly to Philadelphia sometime, like I do. I wasn't there this past year. But also, I want to wish everyone happy holidays and Happy New Year, and I look forward. I have really enjoyed this past year with our new council and the new changes and our new mayor and our new city manager. And as I keep saying to people who see me and can't believe that I'm still happy and excited to be here, I am happy and excited to be here, and in particular because of this new, very vibrant council and our new city manager. So despite our challenges, I feel very confident of our ability to make our way through. So Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson, I'm sure your light meant to be on.
Pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes, 120/2A, I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding personnel, real estate, litigation, and minutes. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. These exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2, subsection C1, C5, C6, C11, and C21.
Thank you. City Clerk? Oops, that was good. Thank you, City Clerk. Could you call the roll?
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Holmes? Aye. Alderman Tindem? Aye. Alderman Grover? Aye. Alderman Rainey? Aye. Alderman Burris? Alderman Fisk?
Aye.
Alderman John Batiste? Aye. Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
9-0.
9-0, the motion passes.
Oh, well, we asked the